Once, there was a civilization that bent fire to its will, ruled the skies with dragons, and built not on honor or gods, but fire, magic, and conquest. This was Old Valyria, a civilization so advanced, so terrifying, that even its ruin still poisons the world around it. Welcome to Somewhat Flawed, where we dive deeper than the maesters dare. Hit subscribe, and let's unlock the forbidden lore of Valyria, the fallen empire of fire and blood. The rise of Old Valyria. Long before Westeros was unified, before dragons soared above King's Landing, there existed a city unlike any other, Valyria. Thousands of years ago, the Valyrians were humble shepherds, living on the Valyrian Peninsula in southeastern Essos. Then they found something deep beneath the earth. Dragons. Or maybe the dragons found them. This city rose near the 14 Flames, a chain of volcanoes that held secrets of unimaginable power. It was here that ancient Valyrian people unlocked the mystery of dragons, binding them as weapons of war and tools of conquest with magic lost to time. What followed was the birth of the Valyrian Freehold, a sprawling superpower that ruled through fire and blood. Valyria had no king. It was ruled by a council of the most powerful Dragonlord families. Each family had a voice in governance, and the strongest wielded the greatest influence. The 40 families formed the upper echelons of Valyrian society. The Targaryens were among the lesser houses, not even on the High Council when they fled. With dragons leading their armies, Valyrians crushed their enemies, expanded their territories, and forged an empire that stretched from the Rhoyne to Dragonstone. And yet, for all their might, they never turned their gaze seriously toward Westeros. Not until the Targaryens. The City of Fire and Stone. At its peak, Valyria wasn't just powerful, it was breathtaking. The city was divided into 4 grand districts: Octio Isultion, the civic center, home to palaces and the seat of power; Botalion, the industrial underbelly, with slave quarters and fire-fueled forges; Vilinion, the bustling port, alive with markets and Valyria's mighty navy; Vestrion, the grand forum, where the elite mingled and where the great arena, Bojulion, stood tall. At its core, Valyria was a city built inside a volcano, its nobles living dangerously close to molten fury. Magic, blood rituals, and architecture fused with flame and stone made it a place like no other. Language and law. High Valyrian. The Valyrians spoke High Valyrian, an elegant, ancient tongue said to be born from the language of dragons. Even centuries later, it's used in rituals, magic, and by the learned across Essos and Westeros. High Valyrian is to Essos what Latin was to Europe, a dead but sacred tongue, used by scholars, sorcerers, and the elite. In fact, George R.R. Martin has described the Valyrian Freehold as his world's version of the Roman Republic. Advanced, decadent, and ultimately doomed. Some frequently lines from the show. Dracarys, meaning dragonfire. Valar Morghulis, meaning all men must die. Valar Dohaeris, meaning all men must serve. Religion, fire, fate, and no gods. Unlike Westeros, the Valyrians had no organized religion. They believed in fate, in fire, and above all, in themselves. They did not worship gods. They became them. Spiritual practice includes blood magic and sacrifices to feed spells. Some Dragonlord families also gifted with prophetic dreams, like those of Daenerys the Dreamer. While some temples existed, the Dragonlords preferred magic to piety. The doom, some say, was punishment for this arrogance. Magic, the true power of Valyria. Valyria's true empire wasn't built with steel, it was built with sorcery. Spells bound into their steel, spells woven into their walls. Their magic was elemental, violent, and largely forgotten. Some forms of magic, binding dragons to bloodlines, forging Valyrian steel with dragonfire and spells, glamours and wards, possible necromancy and shadow binding. Some scholars believe Valyrian sorcery drew on the very life essence of slaves, that every sword, every wall, every spell came at a terrible price. Customs and traditions. In Valyria, blood was sacred, especially the blood of dragons. To keep their bloodlines pure, the dragon lords practiced incestuous marriage, like the Targaryens would in Westeros. Children were often given dragons at birth. Ritual duels between dragon riders settled disputes. Slaves were branded, collared, and used in both labor and magic. The Valyrians saw themselves as above other men, half human, half divine. Everyone else, either a servant, a slave, or a subject. The doom of Valyria. Then, 4 centuries before the events of Game of Thrones, came the doom. In a single day, without warning, the 14 flames erupted all at once. The sky turned red and black. Mountains exploded, seas boiled. Dragons screamed as they burned in mid-air. And Valyria was swallowed in fire. The peninsula shattered, and the once great empire vanished beneath the smoking sea. The doom of Valyria wasn't a natural disaster. It was annihilation. It was theorized that it could be due to a magical civil war between dragon lords, the awakening of something ancient beneath the 14 flames, or a failed spell that backfired catastrophically. No one knows. However, the doom still burns, and no man, maesters, or king dares enter its shadow. Only one family survived, House Targaryen, who had already taken refuge on the volcanic island of Dragonstone because of Daenerys the Dreamer, who foresaw the doom and warned her family, and unlike others, they believed her. A century later, they would unleash the last dragons on Westeros and begin a new chapter of conquest under Aegon the Conqueror. Even in ruin, Valyria echoes through time. Their roads, their steel, their language, and above all, their dragons. The Targaryens brought the last surviving dragons to Westeros. Valyrian steel is the only known weapon against White Walkers. High Valyrian is taught in the Citadel. Their hubris doomed them, but their fire lives on, in Daenerys, in Jon Snow, in the blades they left behind, and in the blood they spilled to make them. Old Valyria burned, but its echoes still shape the world, and as long as dragons live, so too does the legacy of fire. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Valyria's history, hit that like button, share your favorite Valyrian fact in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more epic lore breakdowns from the world of ice and fire.